everybody, welcome back to A Brief on Grief. Today, I want to share with you what has kind of evolved for me since recording the last video. As you can recall from the previous video was about grief resilience. So the idea that grief resilience doesn't mean that you're never going to feel grief, so you're never going to feel like pain, sadness, anger, loneliness, guilt, shame, whatever, all the things that are under the term of grief. The resilience means that you're going to feel that stuff, but if you allow and just courageously feel it all without any judgment and without any timeline, that it naturally flows through you and out the other side. And the clarity and the learning from it comes after that. So that was kind of what we talked about last time. And as I kind of sat with my experience, what brought me to that kind of thought last time, and again, just continuing to process some of the emotions, some of the grief involved in the scam that I was a part of, I realized after a conversation with my brother, of course, one of the most painful emotions for all of us in anything is shame. So I felt I was like, there's still some shame lingering, even though I had been working on it, and I was just like, I thought about the different beliefs involved in it, I should have known better. Why didn't my intuition kick in earlier? How come I didn't see this as a sign and that as a sign, and all those things, all those judgment beliefs that we have inside of us, well, inside of me specifically with this situation, were bringing shame. But I'd been working on that stuff and doing some tapping and other things that I do around processing emotions and, trying to, and seeing, kind of what comes out of it and what I learn. But I still felt after that conversation with my brother that there was another belief or something in there that was kind of keeping that shame persisting inside of me. So I kind of talked to myself and the universe in a way as I was becoming aware of that. I'm like, there feels like there's something else. There's another belief there, but I don't know what it is. So I just kind of put that out and sat with that. And a few days later, I got my answer on it. I got some clarity, but in a very indirect way. So a few days later, I actually heard that one of my friends was was tested positive with COVID and was struggling with COVID. And as I sat, with my heart open to him, thinking about, the different feelings and stuff that he must be feeling, the different feelings that maybe anybody that contracts COVID or any kind of COVID feels special. So I'm just going to focus on that. So anybody that would contract COVID, and of course, because my heart and my body was kind of resonating on the whole shame and trying to understand my shame a bit more, my heart and my body naturally went there. I thought, well, of course, there's lots of shame involved in it. Okay, so if I were to get COVID, I'd be like, well, geez, why didn't you take care of yourself better? I thought I did take care of myself better, right? Or, oh, maybe I shouldn't have gone there, or maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I should have done more of this and less of that. And I just thought about the different shame that would be involved in it, and I was just like, yeah, that must be all involved in that for him. So, and it was neat as I realized that, thinking about shame in that way, and then I thought of another layer of it. Well, not right away. First I thought, well, isn't this interesting that we kind of went at the same time, we were kind of going through big losses, the two of us, myself and this friend, and I was like, that's interesting. And then maybe that was the thought of some kind of connection between it. And then in the place of just thinking about shame and thinking about the shame with the COVID and the shame in my situation, I was like, well, what is, I thought uniquely to this friend, right? And I thought, I'm going to wonder if there's another layer to the shame, specifically with this person. And I thought, well, yeah, he's somebody that works in energy healing. And he probably thinks that because he works and teaches that stuff, that maybe that makes him extra resilient or extra strong. makes his immune system extra strong, because that is one of the proven effects of some of the work that he does. And he's actually a teacher of this kind of stuff. So maybe another layer of it was him thinking, I should be immune to this, right? All the work that I do and what I do in my life, I should be immune. I shouldn't have got this, right? And that was the key. That was the key for me, because with the word immune. And I thought, yeah, I know, like, this work that he does and the work that I do, it helps to strengthen your immune system. And then I'm thinking, yeah, he probably thinking he shouldn't even got it in the first place, and probably thinking he was immune to getting it. His immune system was immune to getting it. And that, for me, because I thought, that is the belief that I had about the scam that I was in. I believed, when you hear about these scams and stuff in society and people that struggle and go through this, I guess I believed that I was immune to it, right? We all have these notions, we all have these judgments in our head, even if they're underlying, thinking, oh, I'll be able to figure that out. My instincts will tell me if I'm a part of that. You hear about all these things that happen and you're like, okay, I'll remember that stuff. I'll know if somebody tries to scam me, and I won't fall for it, right? So all these things. And I realized that's it. That's the belief that's persisting the shame in me, is I thought that I was immune to going through these money scams. And that the other layer of it was similar to what I kind of thought about with my friend, is that the whole transformation and the healing that I'm going through in the last 2 years of trying to ground more and knowing how to sense my intuition and being able to sense that better and being able to control my emotional reactions more, made me think that I was extra immune to these kind of things, extra immune to being taken advantage of based on fear and panic, which is what the scammers use, right? So I thought that I wouldn't get stuck in something like that because I had better control of my emotions, especially the new me the last couple years. So that was huge. That was huge, because I was like, that's it. And I thought that was really amazing, because I thought that in my space to try to understand my shame, so in a way keeping my heart open, not adding more shame to it, not like judging myself for still feeling shame and not knowing why. Instead, I just realized, I sensed that there's more to this, and kept my heart open to myself. And in that same time, when I heard about my friend, keeping my heart open to him, trying to understand his side of it and what shame he might be battling with, brought clarity to exactly what I was looking for. What was persisting my shame, and the connection between, and how it all swirled around in an amazing clarity for me. And I thought, yes, it's all about immunity. And this is not only in this specific situation when I'm talking about being involved in a money scam or somebody getting sick with COVID or whatever kind of sickness. I think this has to do with a lot of the shame that we carry as humans, is that we believe that we're immune to some of the suffering that other people go through, right? We think we're immune. We think we're not gonna get taken advantage of like this. We think we're not going to get sick with this. We think we're gonna be so careful in selecting the perfect partner that we marry that our marriage will never end in divorce. I mean, those are like the 3 things that come to me that I've personally experienced. But I think there's so much more, and it'll probably evolve more after this. Maybe that'll be in the next video. But I think that whole belief that we're immune from this stuff, and maybe the judgments that we may secretly or obviously carry about people that these things happen to, is what brings the shame on for us when we go through them, or when unfortunately when some of these things might happen to us. That same shame and judgment that we had externally, maybe for others, then gets deflected and attacked on us by ourselves when we go through these things. So I think that's the bigger lesson in it all. I know that's one of the huge lessons for me in this. And it's neat to see, I love shame. That sounds so silly. I love shame, but I love talking about shame. I love learning about how it affects our happiness and how it impedes the joy and the brilliance and the creativity that we're supposed to have in our lives and that we're supposed to live and love like. So to understand, to see this connection between the beliefs that I should be immune to this, and that's kind of what's triggering shame in us, no matter, if it's sickness, money scam, or whatever. I think that that's linked, and I love that clarity about that. And to tie it back to grief, again, well, this is all about grief, because when you go through a money scam, or when your marriage ends, or when you're battling a sickness, there's grief and there's loss in it, and there's grief, of course. So this is all about grief still. But the fact that grief resilience doesn't mean grief immunity. And that was the other part of it, was, as I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I still have shame because I believe this, because I thought I should be immune. And I think maybe I thought I should be immune because of the way the society tells us we should deal with grief. So kind of what I've talked about on and off in all these videos, but more last time, is that being resilient to grief doesn't mean that you're not going to go through it. So as I begun this video saying, meaning you're not going to be immune to grief as a human, no matter what kind of healing and transformation and growth and everything that you go through. We're never going to be immune to grief. We can be resilient to grief, but we're not going to be immune to grief. The same way as we're not immune to any external circumstance that can happen to anybody out in our world that causes pain and grief. So sicknesses, money scams, ends of relationships, losing jobs, being on the street. Like when you see people on the street, we think it will never happen to us, but again, that's another belief, and you think that you're immune to it. So yeah, I could talk forever and ever about this, but I think I've expressed what my heart was hoping to kind of share with this. So we are not immune, but we can be resilient. So when we have the feelings involved with grief, just courageously feel it all. Feel it all, allow yourself to move through it, because that resistance to feel it and that resistance to believing that we think we shouldn't be feeling it is what keeps it stuck, right? We have to open up. We have to open up to feeling it, open up to allowing it to move through us, and allowing it to open up and clear out, because that's the only way that the other beautiful stuff comes rushing back in. Okay, thanks everybody. I'll see you next time.